Little Rabbit heard the rumble of their terrible voices. "We have come for every creature that swims," the terrible things thundered. "Oh, we can't swim," the rabbit said quickly. "And we can't swim," said the porcupines. The frogs dived deep into the forest pool, and the ripples spiraled like corkscrews on the dark, brown water. The little fish darted this way and that the streaks of the silver. But the terrible things threw their terrible nets down into the depths, and they dragged up the dripping frogs and the shimmering fish and carried them away. "Why did the terrible things take them?" Little Rabbit asked. "Why did the frogs and the fish do to them?" "Probably nothing," Big Rabbit said. "But the terrible things don't need a reason. Many creatures dislike frogs, lumpy and slimy things, and fish are cold and unfriendly. They never talk to any of us. Now there are no birds to sing, no squirrels to chitter, no frogs to croak, and no fish to play in the forest pool." A nervous silence fell among the clearing. But life went on almost as usual, until the day the terrible things came back. Little Rabbit smelled their terrible smell before they came into sight, and the rabbits and the porcupines looked everywhere except at each other. "We have come for every creature that has quills," said the terrible things. The rabbits stopped quivering. "We don't have quills," they said, fluffing their soft white fur. Porcupines bristled with all their strength, but the terrible things covered them up with the curl of their terrible nets, and the porcupines hung in them like flies in a spider's web, as the terrible things carried them away. "Those porcupines were always bad-tempered," Big Rabbit said shakily. "Prickly, stickly things." This time Little Rabbit didn't ask why. By now he knew the terrible things didn't need a reason. The smell still filled the clearing, though the terrible things had gone. "I liked it better when there were all kinds of creatures in our clearing," he said. "I think we should move. What if the terrible things come back?" "Nonsense," Big Rabbit said. "Why should we move? There has always been our home, and the terrible things won't come back. We are white rabbits. It couldn't happen to us." The day followed peacefully. Little Rabbit thought Big Rabbit must be right, until the day the terrible things came back. Little Rabbit saw the terrible gleam of their terrible eyes through the forest darkness, and he smelled that terrible smell. "We have come for any creature that is white," the terrible things thundered. "There are no white creatures here but us," Big Rabbit said. "We have come for you," the terrible things said. The rabbits scampered in every direction. "Help!" they screamed. "Somebody help!" But there was no one left to help, and the big circling nets dropped over them, and the terrible things carried them away. All but the little rabbit, who was little enough to hide in a pile of rocks by the pond, and smart enough to say so still, terrible things thought he was a rock himself. When they all had gone, Little Rabbit crept into the middle of the empty clearing. "I should have tried to help the other rabbits," he thought. If only we creatures had stuck together, it could have been different. Sadly, Little Rabbit left the clearing. He'd go tell other forest creatures about the terrible things, and he'd hoped somebody would listen.